counterpart in computer sciences and in CCL and I wrote a paper that I think is very interesting. I'm sorry for the false modesty, but it argues that what do we know about the internet? Well, we know it's structured in layers. And what do we, the physical layer all the way up. What do we know about international relations? Well, scholars think about it as levels of analysis. Individual, state, international system, global system. And then we said, well, what if we put them together and they intersect with each other? Does this give us a boundary conditions to think about the layers of the internet interacting with the levels of analysis in international relations? And which actors and which activities and which rules operate in which kinds of cells? And that gave us a way, not a simple way, but at least an internally consistent way of mapping that, giving us a way of thinking about the coordinates. But it was static. It's static, but it's really quite important. What we have to figure out now is how the interactions between the layers of the internet and levels of analysis in international relations. What does the state want to change? What do individuals' innovations create for the state? And see if we can develop a dynamic evolution over time of this. The other part of this, which was really David's idea, completely his idea, but I could connect directly to it because of power and control. This is what politics is about. And I once asked him, well, we know it's a private sector, but who's in control? And he stopped and he said, what do you mean? Nobody's in control. I said, David, of course somebody's in control, or lots of bodies. And what he did then is map out for any activity or any request you make as you log on, where the control points are. Controlled by other human beings and other entities that you hit upon as you read your email, or as you send a message, or as you download this, that, and the other. And all of a sudden, the cyber ecology, demography and ecology, maybe topography, I may be pushing it, but the human bodies that were behind there and their ecological and demographic realities kind of surfaced. It's very hard work because it's far more complex than I could have imagined. And one of our graduate students now is reminding us that we can talk about cyber up there, internet wires, etc., but down below, who is it that manages and runs the very last sets of rules, regulations, and connectivity to you or to me or to whatever? Hierarchical, I understand power and hierarchy, but in this case, what's happening is that there's a lot of autonomy down below. And it's at variance with what I know about politics and power. The state in general, very few states allow a lot of autonomy down below. Usually, at the grassroots, you usually conform to rules and regulations that somewhere were initiated or that you would propose. So in some ways, the cyber domain, now very integrated in the social domain to the extent we can understand it, is a contrast to how we do, how we have conducted ourselves in the past. On the other hand, the time has come to really reassess the three environments we live in: social, environmental, and cyber.